Imagine having the time and money to follow your passions and live life on your own terms. Welcome to Podcasting Mastery, where you'll learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle. Let's grab a cool tropical drink and then join James, Kimberly, and the Turtle in the Secret Beach Hut Studio.
Yes, this is James Martell along with Kimberly Juchnowski.
Hello.
And we are tucked into the Secret Beach Hut Studio, and we're very glad you decided to join us. In the last episode, we talked about you knowing your way to sounding like a pro. This week, we'll be continuing our conversation about developing a lifestyle business so we can all spend less time doing business and more time enjoying our families, more time traveling, and more time doing all of the things that matter to us the most. It's for these reasons we focus on strategies for both developing a passive monthly income stream and passive ways of developing new clients and customers for your business. Today we're going to talk about how to set up a podcasting recording studio so that you can sound like a pro and do it all for less than $100. Kimberly, how you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you. It's nice. It's a little bit cooler. It's been hot this week, so nice to get a bit of relief from the sun, actually. How about yourself?
Yeah, doing well. We got the beautiful ocean breezes coming in, and always like that. A little cooler here today as well, but nice to see the weather forecast coming up with sun, so I'm very happy about that.
Definitely a good thing.
Now, what do you have for us today to help set the tone for the show?
I was thinking we could play a little bit of music, something Caribbean style, some kettle drums perhaps. I always like that.
We're going to be talking about today some challenges that you've had with your microphone and with your headset, and we've been battling a little bit over the last few episodes where you have been sounding, honestly, like you're a little bit in a tin can.
There's nothing wrong with being in a tin can.
Yeah, so I thought that it would be a good idea to kind of talk this through, because I do know that there are many who are just getting started in podcasting, and they're looking for ways to actually do the recording or handle the recording. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll talk about how to actually make sure you're sounding great. I think that's the ultimate goal here, is to make sure we sound good when we're doing our shows, that we have no echo, and that's really what you were experiencing, was a little bit of echo, and we thought it was a few different things, and it turns out it was your headset. At least that's what we think it is, and this is kind of a test show on this, so we'll know after we do the post-production on this, but we've done enough testing to pretty much isolate it. That was the problem. And we do know there's a lot of podcasters out there that love to get the equipment, and of course you can easily go out if you've got the budget for it and spend $1,500 to $3,000 on mixing boards and headsets and boom mics and all the cabling and all the goodies that you can get in the area of podcasting gear. Not my style, and I know it's not your style, and I know a lot of listeners are probably more on our side of the fence here, being technically challenged, and we have enough to worry about getting the content together and focusing on our listeners and making sure that we're doing as best of a job as we can to share the good information, that I personally don't want to be fumbling with mixing boards and a lot of equipment to do the recording. So that's something I've stayed away from for just about 12 years now. And the shows, I think they sound fine.
Yeah, no, your shows have always sounded really good. I think that's one thing that intimidates people and sort of slows the process of them starting, is that they are worried not only about how they sound, like with their own voice, as we've talked about in a previous episode, but how they sound through their microphone. And if the quality isn't there, I can't publish this, and they are worried about the cost. Not everybody has $1,500, $3,000 to spend on a recording studio. You don't need to be a sound engineer really to start a podcast. Of course, lots of sound engineers do, and that's a great route to go also. I mean, if you can have a full-blown studio and you have the know-how, that's fantastic. It's also great. But you can still have a really good quality podcast and quality sound without having to spend all that money. So I think that's more of our audience we're speaking to, is the people who want to do this on a budget, and they might just be testing the waters or just starting out. So yeah, today we're going to talk about that being a possibility for you. You don't need to break the bank. Under $100 is what we're going to keep it under today. You don't have to be technically savvy, as you mentioned.
Yes.
And yeah, everything that they need to know to get started on a budget.
I was actually when I was working on, or actually when you and I were working on coming up with the name for the actual podcast, Podcasting Mastery, Work Less, Earn More, and Swim with the Turtles, the alternate name was Podcasting Mastery for Non-Techies. And maybe we can keep that as a secondary title, because really that is the goal here, is to keep this simple. The other reason that I like to keep it simple is because I like to be able to podcast from anywhere. As long as I've got a good internet connection, a good computer, a headset with my microphone built into the headset, I'm pretty much ready to go, and I'm good to go. So that's the other thing about staying away from a lot of the equipment, is that it's not really that portable. If you're going to be heading off to Maui, or you're on a cruise ship somewhere, and you're one of these podcasters that like to be mobile and not fixed geographically, this is another great reason to keep it simple as well.
Mm-hmm. And if you keep it simple, there's not as much that can go wrong, which is always nice.
That's very true, very true. And I guess there's really only two things we really want to be clear on, or we want to be cognizant of, is the audio loud enough when we're recording our episodes, and is the audio clear enough so that it's understandable. And I do believe that you can accomplish this with a decent headset and a little bit of setup, like we'll talk about after the break. But the reality of it is, though, one of the things that we've talked about in a previous conversation was that listeners are really not too worried about the sound of your voice, and we talked about that, as you'd mentioned in an earlier edition, where sometimes we're a little bit caught up and we don't like the sound of our own voice. And we pointed out and have learned over the years that they're not really listening to us because of the sound of our voices. Mm-hmm. They're listening to us because of the information that we're sharing, and if we can connect with the audience and we can share the information that they're interested in, then of course we're probably going to earn a listener and be able to maintain and keep a listener engaged with the show. So it's really not about if they like the sound of our voice, and I'll even say a little bit of the same goes with the quality of the audio. You've heard it, Kimberly, when you've got two people in a studio sitting side by side with separate microphones, you can get some amazing audio, can't you?
Oh, absolutely.
But the reality of it is, most often you are not in the same room as the person you're talking to. And in our particular case, we have guests lined up for upcoming episodes of Podcasting Mastery, and they're not going to be in the Secret Beachhead studio. They are somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
sometimes in a tin can, like me. Hopefully not. But
and it's rare that actually happens. But here's the deal. And one thing I've found is we're far more critical of listening to our own shows than our audience will ever be. And let me give you an example. When you're listening to the radio, you will hear that announcer, and he sounds crystal clear. However, as soon as they interview a guest over the telephone, the quality goes, compared to the host, goes right out the window. And you can tell that the person being interviewed is on a telephone. Now, as listeners, we don't care that it just degraded a little bit, or a lot in some cases. We don't care, because we're just so used to listening to that type of audio fluctuation that it's pretty much neutral to us. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you're interviewing a guest, you're going to have a little bit of the same experience, because your audio is being recorded into your computer. And in our particular case, we're recording through Skype as well, so we have a distance between us when we're interviewing a guest, so that we want to be careful that we're not too critical of it, because it is the reality. And just to prove it to you, let me play a little radio clip for you here, where we've got an announcer from one of our local Vancouver radio stations, where you'll hear him speaking, and then you'll hear him bring on a guest who's being interviewed over the phone, and you'll hear the difference in the sound quality. Let's cut to that now.
Yeah, well, Mike Dowd joins me on the line again. In the end, that's exactly what happened. Your longtime partner did give you up. What happened?
Well, I don't know if we should give the whole ending away, do you?
Well, no, but let's go around it a little bit here. I mean, that was a pretty big what? You must have been not very happy. A betrayal, yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, the fact is that, he was basically looking out for his own well-being.
So there you go, Kimberly. You can clearly hear the difference.
Mm-hmm. But you still get the content, so I mean, it's not really a huge deal.
It's really not a huge deal. So don't worry about don't overly think this, and don't worry about getting all the big equipment, because in reality, it's not really the equipment that's going to do it for you anyways.
It's your connection, actually.
In a lot of cases, you're right. It's your connection. It's what you're recording through. So if you're recording through the internet, we see this on TV as well. CNN will be interviewing someone through Skype, video in this particular case, or they'll have a reporter on the other end of it, and the quality of the video compared to broadcast level HD television is horrible. But we just expect that. It's just the way it is. And I guess all of this will get better over the years, so don't worry about it. Just let's get the good headsets, get set up, get going, and I guess we can talk about a little bit about all the details of that when we get back.
Definitely. It's actually time for us to take a short break right now. So when we return, we'll offer up some concrete tips on how to organize your recording studio or virtual recording studio. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
More Podcasting Mastery with James and Kimberly from the Secret Beach Hut Studio after this.
Is your website out of date? Is it mobile friendly? Why not let us design your website and we'll make sure it looks the way it should on all platforms and devices, including iPhones, iPads, and other smartphones and tablets. We'll even optimize your site for search engines and make it easy for you to share your content and products on social sites such as Facebook and Twitter with built-in sharing features. For more information and to schedule your no-obligation free consultation, go to podcastingmastery.com/website. Once again, that's www.podcastingmastery.com/website. Is your podcast getting bogged down because of time or technical issues? Would you prefer to let someone else handle all of the production and technical details? Our virtual producer works remotely from a studio to provide you with production, technical, and creative assistance. Our virtual producer will call you and your guest by phone or Skype, and then record, produce, and upload each episode with SEO-friendly show notes to your website for automated distribution to social media and the major podcast directories. Sound intriguing? Visit podcastingmastery.com/virtual producer to learn more. That's www.podcastingmastery.com/virtual producer.
Would you love to spend less time doing business and more time enjoying your family, more time traveling, and more time doing all of the things that matter to you most? Whether you're looking to develop a passive monthly income stream or you're looking for passive ways of generating new clients and customers for your business, James Martell's free podcasting webinar is the place to start. James Martell, an 11-year podcasting veteran, will show you how to quickly and easily launch a podcast that will impress all who hear it to attract all of the clients and customers you need, and how to do it all in less than 1 hour a week using equipment you already own. Register now for this lifestyle and business-changing webinar at podcastingmastery.com/webinar. We'll see you there. Once again, that's www.podcastingmastery.com/webinar. Now back to Podcasting Mastery from the Secret Beach Hut Studio.
And we're back, James. We are going to get right into some great tips, actually, to show people exactly what they need to start a recording studio on a budget, so they don't have to break the bank when they're starting their podcast.
That's true. That's very true. Now, let's kind of pull this apart. In your particular case, and I am assuming that you are sounding much better than you did. Now, you have a great voice. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean
Thanks.
it that way. But your headset was causing problems, and now you have a brand new headset, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But tell us about where you're sitting, what kind of room you're in. Paint us a picture of where you're at.
I am in a small-ish office, but it's actually got really, really high ceilings. So I thought before that it was some of the echo just because of the height of the room. I sort of box myself in so that I don't get any exterior noise. So I thought maybe that had something to do with it also. But what I realized was it was probably the headphone jack. Actually, we might as well just talk about it right now because it's going to be brought up. So yes, my headset was the problem. I sound better now. I've heard from other people. I've done other calls, and everybody says, "Oh yeah, it's great. We can hear you well."
That
they could hear me well
headset
before,
was
but they heard
horrible.
everything else.
Horrible.
And the thing is that it's like a $300 gaming headset. So I mean, it's a high quality headset. But the thing is that it came with like an adapter jack system thing where you had like 4 or 5 different cords that you had to plug in and everything. So I had just like the regular audio jack, and I put it in so it wasn't a USB connection, which was the issue, because if you don't use a USB microphone in your Skype when you're talking, then it will actually default to your computer's microphone, and in this case I was on a laptop in all of our previous episodes, so it was picking up just like our regular laptop mic. So that was a problem. So now I've got the USB one. It only cost me about $40 for it. It's very comfortable, fits nice on my head, it's got a USB port, goes right into my desktop computer, and now I can sound really crystal clear, and nothing gets picked up in the background. And there's always like birds and sirens and animals and things in the background, choppers.
Yeah.
So
Blue Hawaiian flying over about.
yeah, so this is a little bit better. Not as distracting for the person on the other end, that's for sure.
A couple of tips on that too, as well, that I've picked up over the years. When you're organizing your studio, whether it's in an office, or maybe in your home, or maybe it's in an office in an office building, you don't need to get complicated with this. Really, the thing is, you want to just stay away from reflective surfaces, something that's going to bounce back the sound. And if you imagine standing in a basement that's all concrete and you yell, you're going to hear an echo. Mm-hmm. And that's just the nature of it. So what you want to do is you want to deaden the sound a little bit, and that can be done with foam on the walls, or it could be as simple as, if you've got drapes, close the drapes. You may want to
hang some pictures.
Hang up some pictures on the wall. Absolutely. So, something to cover up the large surfaces so you don't have your voice bouncing off the walls. Could be, it's great if you've got a room where you've got carpet on the floor. That'll help for sure.
That's one thing. I've got all wood, so it's like a bare type of room.
Sure,
sounds
and
really
I'm
boring,
sure
but
you've
it's
got
not.
and granite countertops and all that going on.
Yeah.
So not great for sound quality. So just what everybody needs to do is just keep that in mind. Just deaden the room. So if you've got drapes, close the drapes. If you got a room that you've got carpet on the floor, put carpet on the floor. Get some things on the wall. Put some plants in the office. That'll help too. Anything to break up the sound, to stop the reflection of your voice. Other things you can do, of course, is avoid fans in the background. They have a tendency, even though you may not be able to hear it, a lot of times the headset will pick it up, or an air conditioning unit or a furnace, something in the background that'll generate a mechanical or electrical noise. Try to minimize that.
Any cell phone alerts also?
Yeah, turn off your phones. Actually, and I haven't unplugged my phone, so there you go. There's another good tip. Turn your phone off, unplug your landline if you have one. Kill the cell phone. And then, of course, avoid other people. Use a sign. Put a little sign on the door to alert maybe family and friends to stay away.
It's just sometimes difficult. James, do you remember when you had me on the affiliate buzz, I think it was last year, and I was visiting my family in Calgary, and my aunt and uncle were driving in from somewhere far, and we were on live, so it wasn't even a pre-recording, and I hear the doorbell go, and I was like, oh no, this is a problem. Then they're knocking at the door. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then the phone starts ringing because they're like, where are you? Like, we can't get into the house because there's the only one there. Next thing you know, I'm in the basement, just sitting at the bar area in their basement and on the line with you. And my uncle swings around to the back and he sees me through the window, so he starts banging on the window. And I just had to tell you, I was like, I'm sorry, I just gotta get on the move here because people are trying to get into the house. They're banging on the windows. Like, sometimes you just have to let the guests know and the audience know, hey,
that's so true.
I'm about to answer something, so give me a hot second here to sort it out.
And you know what? And that's really, really good advice, is to think about that in advance. For not only you, maybe for your guests, if you plan to interview others, to let them know how to respond if something happens. And I would suggest just go with it. Make it part of the show.
Yeah. I was talking the whole time I was walking up the stairs to open the door. I was carrying my laptop. I had you on the line still. And I'm sure you could hear a little bit of stare action. So it was pretty funny. But you can't miss a beat. You just kind of go with it, right? Just keep going. Just power through.
Absolutely. It's the best way to go. I remember another situation where I was interviewing a woman by the name of Joan Milcrest, and the reason I can remember her so well is because something similar happened to her while I was doing that interview as well. We're just chatting along and we're talking about what we're talking about, and all of a sudden you hear ding dong, which was fine. That's a doorbell. We all know that. But then her dogs just lit up, and it was like, uh-oh. They're going at it. She goes, James, I'll be right back, and you can hear her. She puts the phone down, and we're live on Webmaster Radio, and it was just so funny. And what happened after that is we had so many emails. You got to get Joan and her dogs back on. That was so funny.
And she just forgot that you were live, so she literally walked away, and she was like, oh, hold on while I sort this out. Not realizing it can't be edited out at that point, you know.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. That's really what we mean about just going with it. Just really digging in, and whatever happens. I know I'll probably have the granddaughters drop into the Beach Hut studio here when I'm not expecting them, or who knows what can happen. The turtle's going to get into trouble in the corner there. Something's going to happen. Helicopter's going to go overhead. It's going to be a little too loud or a little too low, or the boat's going to, skim the dock. Who cares? Let's make it part of the show. It's just fun. That's another thing about podcasting. I honestly believe don't take it too seriously. Mm-hmm. Whatever the format of your show is, of course, you want to stay within your boundaries, but keep it simple, keep it fun, keep it light if that's the type of show you're doing.
Just have some talking points. Like really scripted shows, you can tell they're sort of tough to listen to, right?
They are tough.
It's nice to just sort of, and people want to connect with you because they want to hear you. They want to hear your personality. They want to hear your information. They want to connect with you on a more personal level. That's the idea behind podcasting, is to connect with your audience in the best way possible, and the most natural way is having a conversation with somebody. And I mean, you can't really do that if it's all scripted out and you have to stick to exactly what you're line for line, word for word, what you're saying.
Yes. It'd be horrible.
This is the connection that way, I think.
Definitely don't do that. Just another tip on all this. The best way to eliminate any unwanted noises in your show is to make sure you don't capture them in the first place. So taking the time to organize your office a little bit, or your little studio there a little bit, so you don't have those reflective surfaces, and making sure the fans and the air conditioners are turned off or turned way down. A little sign on the door again to alert people not to interrupt you while you're doing your show as best as possible. And then that'll help you not capture any of the noise.
Yeah, it's partly getting rid of distractions for yourself, like you said, clearing out your office, because a lot of the times when people are on a show for the first time or being interviewed for the first time, they don't, you start the conversation and you're nervous, and then you completely forget that you're even being recorded, and you're just basically talking to somebody. So people who are fidgety, or grab pens and start tapping a pen because they're so comfortable at this point, and they start rocking in their chair, and you forget that you're on. So next thing you know, you're doing all this casual fidgety stuff, or start pacing and everybody's listening to what you're going through. So
that's right.
Try and just eliminate those, like you said.
As far as we talked about headset, that's important to have a great headset, no question about that. We've talked about using Skype, and you and I both use Skype to connect. We use a little piece of software called Audacity, which we'll talk about in a future episode, which is also free. You can download Audacity by SourceForge. Just do a Google search for that. Maybe get a copy of that on your computer, because we will be talking about it in upcoming episodes. If you want to have a nice piece of software that you can easily edit your podcast in, and I mean easily. In 10 minutes, I can teach anybody how to do a great job editing your podcast. But then the other thing that we happen to be doing for this particular show is we're using Skype. And Skype gives us a beautiful online console that we can use to actually connect together through Skype, interface with Spreaker, the Spreaker console, where we can then play music and sound effects. And a lot of the information that you hear in the background a lot of times comes from Spreaker. So that's another little piece of the puzzle here that may or may not be needed depending on how you're going to be interviewing guests. And there are other ways to do it as well, but currently in our configuration, that's the way we do it. And Skype does an amazing job of the audio quality when you're I've interviewed guests clear across the world, and you would think they're in the next room in a lot of cases. And Spreaker does a great job of capturing the recordings as well. We don't have time to get into a lot of detail on Spreaker today, so we'll kind of put that aside. If you've never used Spreaker, you may want to go sign up for a free account with them just to get comfortable with the console if you happen to like that. And watch for an upcoming episode very shortly where we'll be talking more about Spreaker. But now, Kimberly, I can see we are coming up against the podcast of the day, and I know you have a great one for us today about how a business is using a podcast to generate revenue and more customers and more clients.
Yes, definitely. So we have been sharing our favorite podcasts, and as you said, we want to tell people how people are monetizing these podcasts, like people who are successfully using a podcast to run a home-based or not geographically tied business, and what that would look like. So very popular travel podcast, actually, that I've been listening to is called the Indie Travel Podcast. It's hosted by a couple, Craig and Linda Martin. They've been in Lonely Planet, and they're huge. They're all over the place, so they're quite popular. So what they do is they sit down. I think it's about once a month. There's a little bit sporadic in when they record, but they do have a ton of episodes under their belt, 298 episodes already.
Yeah.
So they position it to tell people about travel advice. So they'll talk about what location they're in or somewhere they have been. They'll explain what to do, tips on getting around, things like that. And then they'll actually also share resources that people can use. So whether they're using a certain backpack or if they're using a certain tour guide, they also offer books on their site. I think it looks like a bit of a mix between affiliate marketing, so they're promoting products and getting a commission for it, and they do tell everybody, we're promoting this stuff because we actually use it, which it's quite obvious because they have their whole blog and you can follow them around through their pictures and everything like that, and their podcast. So
Fun.
yeah, so you know the stuff that they're using, and these are recommended products from them that they use all the time when they're traveling. It helps their guests basically find an easier way to travel and an easier way to get around. So that's how they're monetizing through affiliate marketing. They also write their own resources. So they've got a series of guidebooks for various locations that they've been to. They also have some books that have been written by guests of theirs that basically are like a smaller version of a Lonely Planet guidebook. It gets more into specific, I think, like tours, where to go, what to see, more so advice than information of breakdown of hostels and everything like that.
What a fun business that would be. Here you
Oh my
are,
goodness,
you're traveling with your wife, and you're tucked into these little locations where you're going to podcast about what you're up to, and you're going to write a guidebook about the area that you're currently in. So you're creating a product. Imagine they have their cameras with them, and imagine they're just taking note of everything they're doing and everything that they think their listeners would be interested in.
Yeah. They even, cameras you mentioned, so they have a podcast episode specifically about photographing in Vietnam, like photography in Vietnam, what you would need to do and good spots and everything like that. So, I mean, pretty much anything that they've used or you could think of that you'd need to know for travel, they're sharing that information. So they've built up a huge audience just by giving advice and just recommending products to them. So that's how they're monetizing. They've also got everything very organized. They've got their website set up where, they have a proper opt-in, so they're capturing people's email and building out their podcasting subscriber lists, which just helps basically give you access to consumers so that you can promote your products to them.
Sure.
So,
keep them coming back.
Yeah, so they've got it really, really down pat. They've got it very organized, and they are monetized. They tell you in their episode, yes, we get commissions for this because we use these products and we love it, and please go ahead and use our resources because that will help us stay on the road and give you more information. So it works out really well for them.
Sounds like a win-win.
Yeah.
And you pointed out the opt-in offer, or the opt-in, the ability to gather up subscribers, and I guess that's really one of the major keys and reasons why we all podcast, is to build out an audience and build up an audience of loyal followers who get to know, like, and trust you. And once you've managed to do that, then of course, if you do make a recommendation, just in the same way that Craig and Linda Martin are on their podcast, the Indie Travel Podcast, of course, then they will also be happy to, in this case, click on an affiliate link and go through and make a purchase in commission. And I guess they're also selling their guidebooks.
Yes, yep, guidebooks that they've written. So they've got an e-commerce section of their website with like a shopping cart and everything. They're monetizing a couple different ways. And that's the thing, as you grow and as you grow your subscriber base and as you grow your podcast and your content, you can also grow in the way that you monetize. So that's a perfect example is what they're doing. It'd be interesting actually to be able to talk to them to see where they started and how that monetization process happened for them. So maybe we could get them on in a future episode. And also worth mentioning for those listeners who aren't familiar with affiliate marketing, that is going to be a topic of discussion in our upcoming episode. So we will get into the nitty-gritty details of how to monetize with affiliate marketing.
Absolutely. In fact, I do believe that's actually the next episode, episode number 009, where we'll be talking about that at length, how to earn an income stream from a podcast, even if you don't have a product of your own.
Perfect.
We'll be digging into that deeply. Now, also, as we begin to wrap up here, if you have a podcast of your own or a podcasting tool, something that you think our audience would be interested in learning about, that you'd like us to feature on the show, just please email us at featureme@podcastingmastery.com, and we may do exactly that. And Kimberly, let you pick a report for our listeners today. I know you've got a number of them in your grab bag.
I do. I know the one I want to share, but I'm pretty sure it'll fit much better for next week's episode. So let's go with organize your podcast in 21 easy steps, since we are telling people how to first get all their stuff set up. I think that's perfect. So you can get that at podcastingmastery.com/checklist.
True. That's actually a 21-step checklist that I put together that I actually thought would take me, I probably thought I could get it done in an afternoon. Took me hours off and on for a month.
Yeah, I think it started with like 7 steps too. And tripled.
And it just grew. And we've set up many podcasts for businesses over the years, and you'd think it'd be easy just to put together a comprehensive checklist. No. Yeah. So grab your copy, podcastingmastery.com/checklist.
If there is something here that we mentioned that you missed, keep in mind that we also take all the notes for you. So you can find all of our show notes for this episode at podcastingmastery.com/008. So any of the info and all of the info that we discussed will be right in there for you to access. If you haven't done so already, please visit us and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/secretbeachhut and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/secretbeachhut.
And I guess finally, we'd like to invite you to subscribe to Podcasting Mastery, and you can do so in under 30 seconds by simply going to podcastingmastery.com/subscribe, and we would love to have you on board. Kimberly, thank you so much, and to our podcasting friends, we'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us in the Secret Beach Hut studio. If you are ready to start your podcasting adventure and to learn the secrets of podcasting your way to a stress-free lifestyle, go ahead and download the free Podcasting Mastery Checklist at podcastingmastery.com/checklist and start your adventure today. But don't wait, the checklist won't be free for long. So be sure to grab your free copy today at podcastingmastery.com/checklist.